Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'll jump into it now that a few people have joined. So, welcome to our Softworld Mac Productivity webinar. For those of you who don't know, I'm Izzy Wessels. I'm the Apple Alliance Manager here at Econocom, and I'll just introduce the session before I hand over to our trainer Chris from Softworld. So, just a heads up, you will be muted throughout the webinar. So any comments or questions that you do have, just pop them in the chat and we'll go over them either throughout the webinar or at the end during the Q&A session. So Chris, if you could move on to the next slide for me, please. Thank you. So thank you all for taking some time out today to join us. Our focus today is on boosting employee productivity with a Mac. So we'll go over a few practical tips and tools that you can start using right away. Before we do dive in, however, I want to give a quick word about Econocom. So many of you do know us quite well. We have been around for over 50 years helping organisations embrace digital transformation. Chris, if you could move over to the next slide. So Econocom operates across Europe, working to make technology simple, accessible and impactful for businesses like the ones on the screen. These experiences are what drive sessions like this, where we are able to show and share ways to make your everyday work easier and more productive. So that's enough of an introduction from me. We'll move on to the practical side of things. I'm delighted to introduce you to Chris from Softworld, who will guide us through a few tips, tricks and strategies to get the most out of your Mac. So like I mentioned earlier, any questions, do pop them in the chat. We'll have time for a Q&A at the end. And over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Izzy. Thanks for that nice, warm introduction. But yeah, like Izzy said, my name's Chris. I'm going to be your trainer for today. I've got a lot to share with you. We are going to go through some of the basics. It's more of a basic session to start with. And we're going to go through lots of ways that you can fully understand your Mac. Really useful if you're moving across from another platform, whether you've had a Mac for a short amount of time. This is going to be invaluable. Or maybe even if you've had a Mac for a long time, there's probably going to be some tips and tricks that I can share with you that are going to help you to become more productive, maybe help with your workflows. As Izzy said there, I am one of the trainers for Softworld. Softworld is a training provider that provides training in person and also virtual. So if this is something you'd like to know more about, we can share a link to the website later in the session or towards the end. Okay, let's jump into the topics that we're going to cover in today's session. First of all, we're going to be looking at macOS, and this is going to be throughout the session. We're going to see the new visual updates all around Liquid Glass and how this looks on macOS, different than previous versions. There's been some huge updates here, and anything like me, I think you'll love these as well. What we'll then do is look at the basics, starting off with the menu bar. I'll go into detail with this first of all. Then we'll look at the dock, as well as looking at different elements of the desktop to help you keep this organized and customize it. Next, we'll be looking at Finder for ways for you to organize and view your files. We'll then move on to a very powerful tool called Spotlight, one of my favorite features of macOS. After that, we will look at AirDrop and how you can share files nice and easy across different Apple devices. Then I'll move on to just very quickly showing you Mail, just so you can see what Mail is about in case you want to use this as your Mail client. Then I'll move on to a very powerful built-in tool of screenshots and show you how you can effectively capture photos and videos. And then when we've got some time at the end, I can see how much we'll go into regarding the different continuity features. Similar to AirDrop, this is when you have multiple Apple devices and you can use these together. Some awesome features to talk through there. All right, now I know quite a few people on the session today will be moving across from a different platform, most likely Windows. But what I want to do is, as I'm talking through the session, I will call out some keyboard shortcuts. So I think it's important just to cover slight differences when it comes to some of the keys that you'll find on your Mac as opposed to a Windows keyboard, for example, or standard keyboard. So you might hear me mention the command key. Here we can see this is outlined on the screen, either side of the space bar. This is generally the alternative you use instead of using Control on a Windows. And actually you'll find a lot of the keyboard shortcuts, which we'll cover in a moment, like Command C for copy, is the equivalent of Control C on your Windows device. You'll also find the option keys just outside from those command keys as well. These will be used in certain situations, and I'll show you where to spot the keyboard shortcuts, and it does relate to the menu bar as well, and I'll show you those in a few moments. We have the control key as well along the bottom row, and then next to these we have the function key on the left hand side, left corner. Shift key should be very familiar with yourselves here. And like I mentioned, when it comes to some of the more common keyboard shortcuts, we have Command C for copy, we have Command V for paste. And to move on into the session, what I want to do is just reveal my desktop with a great gesture, and I'll cover gestures on your trackpad in just a few moments as well. But just by using the 3-finger swipe, I can swipe to a new desktop or new space. Don't worry, I'll go into this in a bit of detail a little later. Now, what I want to do is highlight here, first of all, the menu bar at the top of your screen. This will be the same as your device. The menu bar always lives at the top, and it's split into two halves. We've got the top left side here and then the top right. And I'll show you and talk through some of these options. You might find that yours will say something different here. Now, this is because the menu bar on a Mac is contextual. And I'll get to that again in a second. But what I want to do to start with is just click on the Apple icon here in the top left corner. This is where you will see information and options to do with usual features like going into your settings to go to the App Store and see app updates. You might want to check your recent items. You might want to force quit. Thankfully, I don't need to force quit too much on a Mac, but those situations do happen sometimes with different apps, and this is how you can navigate those to close them down. You then got your normal features like sleep, restart, shut down, locking screen, and logging out of your current user. Now, I'm just going to go back up to the top here and show you when you click on About This Mac, you will see here that you do then get information about your individual Mac. Clicking on more information here will open up your system settings. Again, as you can see here, you can go straight to system settings with this option. As well as when it comes to the dock, you will see we've got system settings here as well. That's if you want to have any dock. And I'll show you how to add and remove these a little later. Super easy. All right, when it comes down to your Mac here, you can see when you've got different devices connected, for example, you can go into display settings, you can check out your storage. And whilst we're in here very quickly, this is where you can go into your options for Wi-Fi, for example, when it comes to your Bluetooth options, different network, battery related options. And this is where you can start to really look into all the different information about your Mac and different ways that you can customize it, set it up, and use the Mac for yourself. I'm not going to go into all of these today, just with this being a shorter session. But I will encourage you to make sure that you are aware of the search bar, the search option here in the top left corner of your system settings. This is great if you want to, for example, look at gestures on your trackpad or mouse if you have a mouse connected. Let me go into this now and show you, considering I did just talk about a couple of gestures already. Here we can see the trackpad and we can see some of the options of how you can use it. Now, you got different things like tracking speed for how you move this, clicks, quiet click, force click. So again, check these out in your own time. Moving across here, we can see scroll and zoom. We can see we've got natural scrolling when you use and hold two fingers You don't need to click, you can just rest and then swipe up. This will be the natural scrolling. If for some reason you've come from a device that has this inverted, then you can change this and turn off natural scrolling. And when you go down, this will in fact look like you're going down the page. To me, that's in reverse. I'm just used to imagining how I use an iPad or touchscreen device. I can swipe the screen up, for example. Use and choose whatever suits you best. Let me turn that back on before I get super confused later on when I'm scrolling through different items. And other gestures here I want to show you is when it comes to swiping between pages. You can scroll left or right with 2 fingers to go between different pages, maybe of a document or a web page, which is the more common one to use. Swipe between full screen applications. That's exactly what I did a moment ago when it comes to switching to a different desktop or different space. You can access here as well Notification Center. This is where you can swipe in from the left hand side, or so the right hand side of your trackpad, and swipe in here and you can see your different notifications. More on that in a few moments. Mission Control is a great feature that allows you to swipe up with 3 fingers and you can see the different apps that are open or different screens that are open. You can simply click one and then action that as you wish. But more importantly, what I want to show you here, again, just swiping up with 3 fingers, we can see I've got different desktops set already. If I wanted to add a new space or a desktop, you can see I can click on the plus icon in the top right corner. Let's give that a click now. You'll see I'll add a new one in. If you were wondering how many can you add, the total is 16 per screen. So if you've got multiple displays connected just like I have, you can have up to 16 on each. I mean, it's great for productivity, but I'm wondering just how much you can be productive with that many screens open. I usually tend to have around about 4, 5, maybe 6 on a busy work day. So as you can see there, I could go ahead and click one of these to close it, or if I wanted to, I can click and select and move it across to a different place in the view. What I want to do as well is just show you how you can click on one of these to activate it. So if you didn't know where an app was, for example, you could swipe up, reveal this, locate it, and then click on it and go straight to. Alternatively, you can just keep swiping through to your different desktops. What you'll see here is my iPad screen. For some demos later on, I'll be using my iPad to show you different ways you can use continuity and maybe any other features that I think might be useful for this kind of more basic session. All right, let's move back from this for now. And then what I want to do is just go ahead and close this down. We'll see here now that this has changed slightly because now it shows Keynote in my menu bar. This is because apps will show, the information will show for the current app that's active. So for example, if I was to go and open up Maps, we can open up Maps here and we'll see it shows Maps in this the top menu bar on the left hand side. Then of course, when you click on these, you will have all the different options that are related to that specific app. One option that will always be constant here is on the far right of this left hand side is the help option. And you can go ahead and start to search for help related to maps. So if you wanted to find something, let's just have a look for anything related to pinned. Maybe if I spell that right. Pinned, and it'll give you some information around pinning on maps. You can go to show all help topics, and this will open the very useful Tips app. This is something you should become familiar with if you are newer to macOS, or if there are some updates, just like we've had with macOS 26 Tahoe, then you'll be able to search and look for the kind of more, recent information. Here we can see we've got topics here for maps, and I could go in, search on the top right to find more information. If I click home here just for a moment, we can start to see that this is a great place to go when you want to learn about maybe some of the built-in apps that you've already downloaded, maybe different devices that you have with that same Apple account. And this is where you will see the really nice tight integration across your Apple devices when it comes to using features just like this. Really, really cool. All right, let's move on from this. I need to be careful not to spend too much time on one particular thing, but the aim for today is to get you familiar, or at least know where to go when it comes to finding out where you can get information from related to specific features or apps or tools on your Mac. Right, let me go ahead. I'm going to show you these icons here because I think it's quite useful to show these first of all as we go through. So when it comes to the icons, you can see I just hovered my cursor over the green icon. So if we do that again, you can either click and hold or hover your cursor. And you'll see you've got different options when it comes to how you can move and resize your apps or windows that are open, or maybe when it comes to filling and arranging the screen if you have multiple apps open. Further down, we have the full screen options as well. Now, if I was to go ahead and just click on the green one first of all, that will just take it full screen. If I want to show you here, I can do a 3-finger swipe up and show you that this is now full screen and it's got the name Tips underneath. Again, if I want, I can just move this across somewhere else. If I want to come out of full screen, I can either click on the icon here to minimize that back to just its normal size. Or if I'm in the app, I can go ahead and tap on Escape, top left corner, and this will just reduce that back down to the size it was previously. Let me go ahead again here and just rest on this for a moment and then show you how I could fill and arrange by clicking on this. You'll move it to the left hand side, and any other app that as well that was here in the background is now put that on the right hand side. Really useful if I want to be using these both together. For example, let me just select Maps and zoom out. There we go. In case you want to be doing some research, maybe not doing some research of maps with tips, but maybe you've got another app open you want to use side by side. This is great maybe if you want to use things like Safari and Notes at the same time, or a different app like Pages, and you want to be copy and pasting different information between them. And I'll show you this again in a few moments when it comes to another demo. Okay, let me just go back on here again for a moment and show you what it looks like when we activate this app, and then we can rest on here. We click on full screen. We can move this to the left. It will put it full screen. It lets me then choose another app. There's only Maps open here as the second app. Let me click on this and we'll see that is now full screen with both apps in split view. I can rest my cursor here and we can see how I can click and hold, and I can move this. Depending on how much app the space needs, you can usually move this maybe sometimes across to like a third or even a quarter of the size. Again, it just depends on what space the app needs to show the information the best way the developer wanted to. So let me go up here again and just come out of full screen on Maps. We'll see that's now come down to the size it was previously. If I 3-finger swipe up just to find where Tips is, you'll see it leaves that app open full screen. Again, we can go up here and just click on this to reduce it down. Really, really useful. So I want you to go ahead and play around with this again in your own time, or play around now as we follow along. And if you do have any questions, just let me know. Another way to place these apps into like the left or right hand side or top or bottom is to click and hold anywhere at the top. You can see you can click and drag this around. If I move this towards the edge, we will see got more space on my trackpad here. We can see when it comes to moving it across, you'll see we get that white box, and that's suggesting that if I let go here, it will snap that into position. Let me go ahead and move this down and do this as well. Let me say I want to move this across. I can do that and let go and move it into that position as well. Really, really useful. Okay, I'm going to close this down. I can either do this by clicking on the red X in the top left corner. Let me go ahead and do that. You'll just close it down. You'll notice that it's now closed and removed off the screen. But let's say I wanted to do the same thing here with Maps. Just click on this to close it down. Because I have this in my dock, you'll notice actually there's a dot underneath the app to show that the app is still active. It's just closed off the screen. So let me go up and just click on this. It will open back up in that same place. Okay.
Now, what I can also do here is I can go up to maps, I can quit maps this way, and you can notice we've got keyboard shortcuts. So going back to the menu bar now, when you do click on these different options, you will see that there are keyboard shortcuts on the right hand side. So I can see here I could do Command Q to close this down. Let's go ahead and give that a go. I'm going to go Command Q on my keyboard and that will close it down. And that will actually quit the app completely. Okay. You'll notice that because it's got no dot underneath. All right. Further across on the menu bar on the top right hand side, let's go from this edge here. We'll see we've got different apps that are active or different features. You can add different apps in here if you wanted to. I've got my passwords app up here because I use that quite often. And I'll show you how to add and change these in a moment. Here we can see we've got focus. Now this is a great tool. And again, we'll cover this in a few moments. I'll come back to this one, but you can choose different focus options in order for you to literally stay focused, avoid distractions from callers, people messaging, notifications, or even more advanced features. And I'll cover those in a few moments. Further across, we can see here, we can click on Wi-Fi, for example, and we can see different Wi-Fi networks. We can turn Wi-Fi on and off very quickly. Or we can go down into Wi-Fi settings and it'll open up Wi-Fi within system settings. Same thing for Bluetooth. Battery, we can see here, we've got different information related to the battery, tells you how long until it's fully charged, shows you if you want to go into low power mode, for example, and any apps that might be using significant memory or energy, I should say. This is useful just in case you think your battery is being reduced quite a lot if you're not connected to power, and you can actually identify which apps these might be. This is a screen recording app in order to be able to let you watch this video back. So here we can see that this does use quite a significant amount of energy, but it's all good. Further across here, we can see when it comes to your user accounts, I've got my personal account here on the left-hand side, and I've got my demo account on the right-hand side, and I could easily quickly click between these to activate them. And once you're logged in with these, you can switch very quickly. I can't show you obviously because I need to be on this this option here, this user account. You can also set this up when it comes to system settings and using Touch ID. Either you can have somebody else, if it's a device multiple people use, you can have different fingerprints from individuals to be able to log in by not entering your password. You can use Touch ID, your fingerprint, very secure. Or you can use it to quickly switch user accounts. For example, I have my personal account set up with one finger, and then on another finger, I have this for my demo account. And I can very quickly just press on the Touch ID, which is on the top right corner of your keyboard, just in case you were wondering there. I'll very quickly show you this. If I come back to this here, this is where your Touch ID icon key is. Okay. And you can go ahead and click on this. I'll press this with your finger to quickly switch user accounts. Very, very useful feature indeed. All right, moving further along here, we can see we have options for AirDrop as well. I'll do a demo of AirDrop for you in a few moments. You can turn this off very quickly and easily. We also have here Spotlight. Again, I'll come back to this in just a moment, but this is one way to activate Spotlight. I'll show you a few others in a moment. Then we have our options to access Siri. You can go ahead and click on this if you wanted to activate Siri, and now you can use type to Siri. So you can actually type in a question there or to get some information. Further along, very powerful, is when it comes to Control Center. I'm going to spend just a moment here just to show you Control Center because it can be customized and it can be very powerful and help you when it comes to utilizing your Mac. You can see the options I've got here under my Control Center. I've got Wi-Fi related, and we'll see when we hover, we can see there we can click and we could open up this into further details. Click that again to go back a level. Quick actions here when it comes to AirDrop. Turn it on or off, contacts only or everyone. Again, click to go back. And here we can see I've got options here when it comes to light and dark mode. I could click this and switch between light and dark mode very easily. I like to use dark mode personally most of the time, but I think for the purpose of showing this demo, it's best to have it in light mode. You can also see here we've got options when it comes to music, which I've got as my default. When it comes to screen related options, stage manager, I'll show you this later as well. And then when it comes down to focus. Focus again, I'll show you that in just a moment. Display, you won't be able to see this here, but the brightness is changing on my screen. You can also do this for other displays you have connected, sound related options. And I've got a control here for my home app, which will take me to my smart controls. I'm going to click on edit controls just very quickly here and show you when it comes to how you can add and look through different options for your controls or for different widgets that you can use within your control center. So when it comes to control center itself, I should explain more clearly, you can add in different options. So you can see fast user switching, which is what I mentioned before. You can choose different options here when it comes to turning on and off features. You've even got options when it comes to using third-party apps as well. They will show up in here. And what you can do to add one of these, let me say I wanted an option here for a clock, and let's say I wanted to use one for a timer. I can go ahead and just click and drag this and place it into a position. I can also go ahead and just click on the plus and add this to control center or add it to menu bar. Let me add this to menu bar. We can see we've got that option there now, which is great. Let me click on done, just to come out of this. We can see here, if I click on this now, it will open up the clock app and it will allow me to choose, different alarms, for example. Now you can move these across, and I think I'm going to just check here. It's command, hold down command key and you can click and drag these and place these where you want to. No problem at all. If you wanted to remove one, just use the 2-finger click. And again, this is probably something I should have explained before. On your trackpad, just like the one I'm using here and the ones that are built into your MacBooks, you can set this up different ways. The way I have this set up is by using 2 fingers to click, which is the equivalent of a right click. Then by doing this, I can go ahead and click on remove here, no problem. All right. Moving further along here, I'm just going to go close down control center and just show you one final thing is when you click on the time in the top right corner, this might look different on your device, but it should show date and time in some format. We can then see here we've got different notifications. This is where it would show messages, information from different apps, maybe email notifications, Safari notifications, depending on what options you've chosen to have showing for your notifications pretty much. And you can choose to have these appear in here. We can see that I have got different widgets set up here. This is great because it allows you to see information at a glance. All right, let me go ahead and click on edit widgets and we'll see it pops up with this option here. These can be added and removed very easily. Let me see if I wanted to take off stocks. I could just click to remove that. To add this back in, I could simply click and drag this and place it where I want it to. I could scroll down, click and reorder these as well if I want. There we go. And also we can see on the left hand side here, we've got again the built-in apps, but also apps from third parties with different widgets available. So you can go ahead and add these into your notification center, or if you wanted to, you could go ahead, click on these and then drag them onto your desktop. This could be really useful. I mean, I don't use Excel, so it might not have been the best option to choose here. Let me remove that one. Let me go up to calendar. And calendar is something I use quite often, so let me go ahead and just place this widget here for calendar. When you're done with these, of course, you can add as many as you want to. I'm going to go ahead and click on done. And then we can see if I swipe 2 fingers across from the left to the right on my trackpad, it will remove notification center. Again, to bring it in, two-finger swipe off the very right edge of your trackpad and bring that in. And that will all bring in Notification Center. You'll notice if I click on a widget, it will open up that app if there's an app related to that specific feature. Really, really useful. Quickly close that down. All right, that is most of the menu bar, but I do want to go into Control Center one more time and go down to Focus. Focus is a really, really powerful tool here. And what I want to do is show you, you can see here I've got Do Not Disturb turned on. This is now on, and it means that I'm not going to get any notifications from different apps or different people interrupting me during this webinar. But what I can do is go ahead and choose one of these just manually by clicking on it, or I can set up some really powerful automations or rules to activate focus. So let me show you one first of all that I did set up. And this is when I open up Final Cut Pro. Sometimes when I'm editing, I really like to just stay focused and not have any interruptions if I really want to get stuck in that creative flow. And we can see when I open this, it showed there just very briefly, video editing focus is turned on. Okay, let me cancel this. And we can see now I've edited this as a scissors for the editing, for the cutting. You get it? Let me see here. We can see this is now turned on. I could then choose just to have it on for an hour or until this evening. But because of the rule I've set up, if I go ahead and if I just quit Final Cut Pro, we'll notice that my focus changes and it goes back to Do Not Disturb. So let me show you how to do these. I can, of course, just click on the focus icon here and then go down to Focus Settings. Now, when I'm in Focus Settings, what I can do is choose to change one of the default ones. You'll see and recognize some of these on your own device, or I can go down to Add Focus. If I add a new focus, let's just go ahead and quickly choose one for mindfulness. Here we can see I've got different options related to intelligent breakthrough and silencing. So this is where it will use intelligence on your device to try and understand if there's something that you might want to be notified by, if it's something important. You can choose to have this turned on, but if it's something you'd rather not do, of course, just keep that turned off. Now here we can see I can have notifications from different people or different apps. If I go on Allowed People, you can see here I can have I can allow some people to come through, or I think, which is more important, and I think you can relate to me here, we do have those friends or family members who, whether you're working on that, they will always message you. So maybe you want to add those as a contact to hide. So let me see here. I'm going to add in my friend Anna. I'm going to add them to silence some people. Okay. And then when I go ahead, I can click on Done here. It means that anyone else is okay to message me during mindfulness. Probably not the best example. I probably have nobody completely apart from important ones. But let's see this for an example. And go down to Allowed Apps as well, because you can do the same thing. Notification from apps will be allowed, or if you change this to silence, notifications from selected apps will be silenced. So if I wanted to allow a particular app to be able to notify me, I can go ahead and choose a different app from this list if I wanted to. Now this does link through to another powerful feature when it comes to focus, and I'll show you that in a moment. Before that, we can choose options to add a schedule. We can choose here to have this enabled between certain times, at certain days. Oh, let me just go ahead and just delete that schedule. It's just turned it on because it conformed to those rules. You can also choose location. So if you wanted to, let's just choose in very broad here. If I go to Manchester, let's go Piccadilly, a little bit more narrow. I can choose the range of where I want this focus to be turned on around a certain area. So a place of work, for example, or if you work in a different location, you can set that as your work location. You can then go ahead and click on done, and then if I'm within this location, it will turn on my mindfulness. All right, let's go ahead and delete that one. The third option here is when it comes to when you open an app. And this is what I used when it came to opening up Final Cut Pro. It then activated that particular focus. What I want to do though is show you something very powerful. If you use your device to do presentations or demos, for example, let me just remove this one. We don't need that. You can use 2 fingers to swipe across here. Let me go into this and show you something really powerful. Right, so I have this mindfulness app turned on, and I can choose to add a focus filter. And I can choose to focus different calendars, for example, or different mail accounts, or different message conversations. If I choose to filter people by a list, you can see here, I've got myself and my friend Anna. Because I've got Anna in this list, if I choose to filter by people, by list, and click on add, and then when I have this feature, this focus turned on, if I click here, if I go down to mindfulness, we'll see that the conversation with Anna has disappeared. Really, really useful. I can choose to turn it off if I wanted to and just bring those back. But I like how you can really customize what is shown or what you can see or have notified by, you know, this really great amount of detail. All right, let me go back to this one here. And let me just come out of this focus. I'm going to go back onto Do Not Disturb, and you'll see that's just come back there. Brilliant. All right. If you've got multiple Apple devices with that same Apple account, you can share focus across devices. So I noticed on the other devices in front of me, if I turned on this focus, it would change it on my iPad and my iPhone. You can choose that to be turned off if you want to, very easily. And then if you want, you can also turn on focus status. This means if you choose to be in a particular focus, the other person, say they want to message you, it will show, you know, the receiver is in Do Not Disturb. So the other person knows that you're in some form of focus. Useful just in case they message and ask you why you've not replied, but they'll see it if it says you've got, you know, you're in a sleep focus, for example. They'll know that you're sleeping. Awesome. All right, let's come out of this. Okay, let's move down to the dock. I'm going to talk about the dock just for a couple of moments. We can see here that my dock is visible and it's animated when I move my mouse cursor across. This behaves in a usual way that you're probably familiar with. We can click and hold on an app here and we can move these across. Oops. Why am I not able to do this? There we go. Let me just click another one. There we go. And I can move this across into you know, different a different space on the dock if I wanted to, he says. There we go. Just need to move it down slightly. And you can move these across. And you can just move this and customize how you want it to be shown. Now I've clicked on music. I'm going to right click and just quit this, no problem. Okay, other options here is we've got apps and apps that I use, and these are on here. These are a lot of the default built-in apps. You can choose to add different apps very easily. Let's open up Finder. Let's go to applications and let's just choose, let's say we've got a different app here that I wanted to add in. Let's say Lightroom app here. I can come down, I can simply click and drag this and release it in there, no problem. Okay, that's in your applications folder. We'll cover Finder in just a few moments. You'll notice here there's a small divider between these different sections. Here we can see that I've got apps that are currently open or recently used, I should say. To remove these, just simply click and hold on one, I'm not doing very well with my clicking today. Let me just click and hold on one of these, remove it up into the desktop area, click on that, and it'll just remove it from there. Other ones we've got, again, are just different apps that are active, or maybe notes that are active, you know, different forms of apps or notes or documents that you've used just and you've minimized down. They will show here as well. And then we've got the bin on the right hand side. This might show as trash if you're in a different region, but we can simply go in this and you know, just right click and empty the bin if you want to. If you notice here, it's got stuff in there already, but if we go on empty bin, that will be removed nice and empty, just how I like it. All right. To change options for your dock, just place your cursor in between this area here or this side, and then you can do that 2-finger click again, and then you can choose to have hiding turned on. Then when you move your mouse cursor down, it will reveal this back up. I like to have mine visible, especially doing these type of training sessions. You can turn magnification off if you want to, so then it doesn't highlight into a larger size. I think it's just such a nice touch that I do like to have that on. It just looks nice and fluid. You can choose the position on the screen. Maybe you want it on the left hand side. You can choose to have it there if you wanted to. I'm just so used to having this at the bottom. I always keep it there. The only place you can't put it is at the very top, because you do have your menu bars. All right. You can use other options as well to change this. And again, you can go into your dock settings, which will open up system settings, and you can choose to have different options here as well. Again, go ahead and look at these in your own time to really personalize this for yourself. Right, okay, let's go into now Finder. I'm going to open up Finder, and we'll see here that I've got recents maybe, then we've got applications on the left hand side, and these are your favorites, and a lot of these are just set up by default straight away. Let me go down and go to my demo documents folder. I've got a documents folder here just with lots of different documents that I use for demos. And you can see here, this has been added. So of course, if you want to, you can click and hold and just move a folder across. Then you can go ahead and click on this to access it very quickly. You can also rearrange these, right click, choose some different options, or if you want to, you can even add this to your dock, for example. I want to remove this from my sidebar, and then I can just, it's not there again. Further down, you have different locations, iCloud Drive, for example, your home folder, any devices you have connected, and even things like AirDrop. And then you can also choose different tags to help you find things easy, like documents. We won't be going into that in today's session, but maybe we'll do some other sessions in the near future. Okay, let's just go into these demo documents first of all, because I want to show you the different views very quickly. If we click on this icon here, we can see this is shown as icons. We can also show this as a list. And again, this should be very familiar with you here. You can go ahead, click on these icons in between. So the icon to arrange by name here, ascending or descending, alphabetical order. Click and drag to make these larger or smaller. You can even right click, of course, just to add different options there, depending on what you want to see in your Finder options. Next one across here is columns. And we can see here, if we do go into different folders, like important documents, we can then see how we start to show you the file hierarchy. It will then even show you when it comes to a preview of the document and any information about it. And that's similar to the last option here, which I'll admit I always forget the name of, which is gallery. I don't use it too much. That's the reason. And we can see here when it comes to gallery, we do have, let me go back one, change this to gallery. And we can see here we've got all the all the documents at the bottom. And we can actually scroll through these with our cursor, and we can see a preview of these with the information on the right hand side. Okay, personally, I always go either between icons or list view, really useful. Again, go ahead and play around with this, very powerful indeed. One thing I want to point out, a very quick feature, is when it comes to previewing your documents. if you wanted to click on a document, for example, and see, is this the right keynote I want to use? We can see here these are saved in iCloud at the moment, but a quick click here will download that from iCloud very quickly indeed. What I can do is click on this just once, or use my cursor to move around, my cursor keys. If I tap on the space bar, this will open this up as a preview. We can see I can actually scroll through these and see a preview of this without opening Keynote. If it was the right one, I could then open with Keynote, or alternatively, I could just go ahead and click on share and get different share options that I can share with different people or different apps. So again, you can do this without opening the Keynote fully or the other app. If I go left and right with my cursor keys here, we'll see it will also preview the additional documents. This is a PDF. We can see here I can scroll through. We've even got a thumbnail list on the right hand side that I can quickly navigate through. Tap on the space bar, this will just close it down. Okay. Now, last thing I want to show you here around this is when it comes to desktop. I'm going to go ahead and just click on Command A for my keyboard shortcut to click on them all. I'm going to click on Command C to copy. And then what I want to do is just go to my desktop here, right click, and then click Paste 28 items. We'll see it's pasted these items and it's actually downloading these from iCloud as well very quickly, because these are then on my desktop, they're stored locally. So we'll give that a moment. But the feature I want to show you is if I right click on my desktop, I'll do a 2-finger click. We can see we've got those usual controls like new folder, we can get information, we can change wallpaper, we can edit widgets just like we looked at just before. But one that I want to point out here is when it comes to using stacks. We'll see, even though there's quite a few items in this list already, they're neatly organized. Let me go ahead and just turn off stacks. And we can see here how that would look usually. Here we can see you've got all the different documents. And again, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and click on one of these, tap on the space bar, and it will open that up as a preview. It'll tell me which app that is linked to. Tap on space to minimize. But if I'm using stacks, I can go ahead, right click, use stacks. You see it organizes them per app, or per, not per app, I should say, per file type. So here we've got some different documents. Let's open those, you can see those. Here we've got different images. There we go. Different images there. We've also got different PDFs. Videos, there's only one. Presentations, it's grouped them together as well. Very easy to be able to keep your documents organized on your desktop. Personally, I don't like to have anything on my desktop, so I'm going to go ahead and copy all of those, right click, and then just move those to the bin. There we go. I click on this, I didn't open it just a moment ago, but here we can see we have these in the bin here. If I wanted to, I can just simply go ahead and just click on empty and empty that as well. A different way to do it. Right, okay, let's keep moving through. What I want to show you next is the powerful tool called Spotlight. Remember, we could click on this here to open up Spotlight, and we can go ahead and either search for anything on our Mac, or we can use it for some other powerful ways as well. Another way to access this is what I like to use more frequently is if I'm doing some work and my hands are on my keyboard and my trackpad, simply tap Command Space and this will open up the search option. Let me go ahead and find the beekeeping document that I know I've got on my Mac somewhere. I've got multiple versions of this. I've used this for demos all the time. You can see when I've added it to notes, I've sent it to people. And if you want to, you can go ahead and start to refine down your search options, or you can go ahead and then just, click on this document here, click on this, tap the space bar, and it will open it up as a preview. If it's the right one, you can go ahead and open with preview. Spacebar again will remove that. You can really search for information within messages or mails or keywords. It's a great way to find something. Go ahead and again play with this by yourself. But I want to show you how you can use this for other options. This has recently been updated with Tahoe, and you can search for applications, files, actions, even your clipboard history. So again, go ahead and look at this in your own time. We haven't got that time to go into it deeply today, but great tool to find out more about. What I do want to show you though is how you can use this for more than finding things like documents. If you know a flight number, for example, this is a great example, BA123 will open up with information related to that flight. You can see some overview information here, but if I click on this, what it will do is it will then open up with more detailed information. I can then open this up in other ways as well. You can add it to my calendar, but you can see here that it does give you that information. Very powerful indeed. You can also use this for currency conversions or conversions of different weights or measurements. Let me show you conversions of currency. Very powerful tool. Let me see if I wanted to find $2,500. It will search automatically and show me the result based on my local language first. So here we can see it's £1,904.22. If I wanted to continue and say in euros, you just continue to type what you want and it will show you that information as well. We can see here this is from Yahoo Finance. We could click on this and open up into Yahoo Finance webpage and it will show you more information if you wanted to. Again, very powerful. You can clear that by tapping escape or by tapping escape again to come out of it. So Spotlight, remember, Command Space or by using the icon in your menu bar in the top right corner. Right, okay, we are coming towards the end. A couple of other features I want to show you here is one when it comes to using AirDrop. Now this is where I'm going to go across and show you my iPad screen. And what I want to do is go to my iPad and let's say I want to share a photo. So here's a picture that was taken. And if I wanted to share this, I can go onto the icon here in the bottom left corner, which is share. I can then go ahead and click on AirDrop. It will show me other people that I've got AirDrop turned on. Remember before in that option on my Mac where we could turn AirDrop on or off, have it viewable by contacts only if you don't want to be receiving AirDrops from other people who you don't know, or you can just do it everyone if you want to have that turned on all the time on your Mac. Let me go ahead and just choose Kurt's Mac. What this will do, this is trusted because it's my user account. So it's actually just sending that picture through straight away. It's opened it up in my Finder window. I could then either click on open to open that image, or it could have gone show in Finder, which is actually already done here. To go back the other way, we could go here. We could click on share and we can click on AirDrop. And we can see here, we've got my iPad. My iPad is here. Let me tap on done for this one and come out of this, and we'll see it's set that picture again here now on in this option here. If you're sending to a contact who is not yourself or trusted, it will pop up Chris wants to send AirDrop you a photo or a file. It gives you a small preview so you can choose to accept that or not. This is great because you can actually send multiple photos, multiple documents, file types, videos, pretty much anything you want to from one device to another. It does it super fast, super securely. Another one to show you very quickly is when it comes to it's called handoff. And this is when you want to start maybe a project or a document on one device, let's say even just browsing a website. You could do this for starting a document within Pages. You could start an email or a text message. And what happens is if I open up Safari here, and then once Safari is open on this window, and let me just go to National Geographic and go to this page here. You can see, let's just navigate to, this looks great. I'll check this out later. As a keen photographer, I'll definitely check that out. Here we can see on my iPad, now look at the bottom corner here. On my dock on my iPad, it doesn't show Safari at the moment. It shows it here that I can open up normally. But if I go to my Mac and this is active, we can actually see here that Safari opens in the background, ready for me to tap on or click on. So let me just show you, and just minimize this down here because I want to show you what happens. If I go ahead on my iPad now by using the trackpad on my iPad, if I go ahead and click on Safari, what will happen is it will open up on there. I want to continue without accepting. It will open up on that exact page I was on a moment ago. This is a great thing to be able to open from one device and continue on another. This works across, again, multiple apps, but you just need to be signed in with that same Apple ID. Okay. Right. Let me go ahead and close down Safari, and I'll come out of National Geographic on here. And one of the last things that I want to show you is when it comes to screenshots. So there's a very powerful way to use screenshots, and the keyboard shortcut here is Shift Command 5. What will happen is it will show you a list of different options at the bottom. You can choose to capture the entire screen. Let's go ahead and do that. Is this going to change anything? No, it won't change my the way I'm using this. I can go ahead and capture the entire screen. It will pop up in the preview in the bottom corner. I can then click on this if I wanted to share it, mark up, or do whatever I like. I'm going to go ahead and just close this down. Again, I've got this to save on my desktop. You can see that it's just saved it there. Let's go again, Shift Command 5. You can choose to capture selected windows. Now, there's no windows open at the moment, so it's just the widgets actually it's showing me there on this one. But if I did have a window open, let me go back to Safari here, and let's keep it open there. Shift Command 5. If I click on this here, you'll see it just opens up this. And actually it does a really nice job of keeping you rounded corners with that drop shadow. Looks really nice if you're using this for any reason. Other options you've got here are selecting a portion of the screen, which you can choose and change the handles for if you wanted to. Other options, you can record the entire screen when it comes to a video recording, or recording selected window of the screen. And this is where it will record the motion, of course, as a video, and then selected portion as well. By clicking on options, you can choose here to save this to desktop, like you can see on mine, or if you wanted to, you can just keep it to clipboard, have a timer, or even choose different options related to what is shown, like the cursor or the pointer. Okay, right, I'm going to tap escape to come out of this, tap escape again, and I'm going to tidy up my desktop for one last time and then move that to the bin. All right, that is the session pretty much complete. I hope it's been useful for you. I hope there's been a lot of information that you have learned. Hopefully there's something that you're going to use in the future. If you do have questions, let me know, or please do get in touch. With this being said, this is the end of the session, and I will open it up for any questions that you might have. Otherwise, I hope to see you again in the very near future. Thank you for attending this webinar. Take care. Bye-bye.